cat that you see in the cage there is Raja, and he was one that was came from Fort Lauderdale. He was owned legally but grandfathered in as an actual pet. The guy lost his house, and when the bank went to take him from foreclosure, they found him in the backyard. He had basically been abandoned because the guy didn't know what to do with him. So they ended up contacting us. So Raja was full grown when we got him. He's one of the ones that we're not real hands-on with because we don't know how he'll react to things. Through the cage, he's a lover. He loves women. He's not real fond of men, but he's one of my favorites. But he's kind of a special situation, so he's a good boy. My name is Phyllis Parks, and I'm a senior handler for CFAR. CFAR is the acronym for Central Florida Animal Reserve. We have been in existence since 2007, when we took over from a previous organization. I have been with the two organizations combined for almost 15 years.
Well, the main goal of our organization is to establish meaningful relationships with our animal residents. And as we establish these relationships, that allows us to bring other people into their world so we can educate the public at large by being good stewards of the animals themselves. Well, as a nonprofit organization, our funding is entirely via donations. Many people are surprised to learn there's no state or federal funding for this kind of work, even though we have had interface with both state and federal agencies. And so we exist entirely off the benefit of people who find our mission and are willing to donate.
We are regulated by Fish and Wildlife and by USDA. The lions, all of our cats now are classified as Class 1 animals, which is regulated by USDA. And then the caging and the food and anything else that has to do with it is regulated by Fish and Wildlife Commission. So we're regulated very closely by all agencies.
The animals come from all sorts of situations, and a lot of our animals were actually bred either at the facility prior to our taking over, or they were rescue animals, which means that they were coming from other organizations into ours. The animals require 24/7 care. However, big cats and some little cats will sleep upwards of 20 hours a day. And while they're asleep, they're really not doing all that much. They are masters of energy conservation. So while we may be on site for 4 hours feeding them and they may be up and active at that time, really, once we fed them, taking care of their maintenance and whatnot, we just try and give them a peaceful environment where they can rest.
Only the senior handlers are hands-on with the cats. And so most of the cats have known us their whole life, or a major portion thereof. So we have to be able to read their expression. They are wild animals. They are not tame in any way, shape, or form. They are socialized. They're used to being around people, but they are not tame animals. They still have all of their, other than certain ones that came to us with no claws, they have all of their weaponry. They all have all their claws, they have all their teeth, and know how to use them.
The species are kept together really based on their peer group. And for us in the captivity arena, it's very important that the animals are with other animals that they're going to be comfortable with. That comfort is more important than speciation. So if, for example, we end up having a peer group that's composed of both lions and tigers, then we will let that peer group continue to live together as long as it's a positive experience for the residents. In the wild, and for most of our residents, they are generally with members of their own species, unless they're solitary, in which case they may be by themselves.
When we first get a cat, to start with, they'll be in isolation because we have to have them tested, blood tested, such to make sure that they aren't carrying something that would affect the rest of the compound. So those things would have to be done. As far as our approach of the animal, we get them used to your sound, to your smell, to having you close to them. Then most of our cages have all of our new cages will have shift cages. A major portion of our cages here have shift cages. A shift cage is a cage that the cat goes into. We open and close the door from outside their cage. They go into that shift area and are locked down, but we can put their food in there, clean the enclosure, do any repairs necessary, and they're not with us. We're in there alone. So that way, then we're bringing the food. So they associate us with something good. So eventually then they hopefully accept us, but they all have different personalities, and we don't like everybody. They don't have to like everybody either. So it's just a matter of, trying to gain their trust, and it's both ways. They have to trust us, we have to trust them. So we have to work on those communication issues with each cat that comes in. Our long-term goals for the facility, obviously, it's to relocate to our new place, which will give more space for each of the cats. They'll have better, stronger enclosures, more room to interact with the public to further our educational program. And then at that point, we'll be able to get back into doing more rescues. Where we are now, we're at max. We cannot take another cat, period, no matter how desperate the situation. So we're all excited over the idea that once we've relocated, we'll be able to rescue again. Because most of our cats are older cats, so we do lose cats because that's life. It happens. So we're all excited over the idea of being able to bring in new species and new cats into the facility. It'll be exciting.